or should I say welcome? Don't say good morning because people are in very different time zones from where we are. So welcome from wherever you are sitting in the world. We're very glad to have you. And today, it's very exciting. We are going to Uganda. And people have, we say this every week, but it's so true that the great value of Thursday Travels is just that we get such a good insight into what life is like in that country. And so we're always grateful for the champions, for the work that they do to welcome people to they move to that country, but also all the information they give us, which no guidebook can ever tell us about that. So today we have our no guidebook guide, Olga, who will tell us what it is like to live in Kampala. So Olga, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and for you to take us to Uganda. And we look forward to that. As usual, please, if you have questions, put it in the chat box and I will call out your questions. Or else you can unmute yourself and just ask all the what's on your mind, okay? Especially if you are moving to Uganda, please take advantage of the expertise today. Olga.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olga Dubina, and I live in Uganda, in Kampala. I'm very happy to tell you more about this wonderful country, and I do hope that Lena will help me. Yes, so I will be talking from an expat perspective, and you can add from a local point of view, right? Yes. So I really enjoy my time here, and I really miss that it's coming to an end because we're relocating. Hopefully in September to Ethiopia, but I will definitely miss this place a lot. I really liked it. Being Belarusian and my husband is Russian, I think the best thing for me in Uganda was the climate. You see, I'm sitting outside. This is my garden. Everything is green. Everything is sunny, and skies are blue, and the weather is very pleasant. It's like plus 25 Celsius all year round, with some rainy seasons. But now rainy seasons are so unpredictable. No one, even locals, cannot guess when it will be rainy season, when it will be a dry season. And to me, it's not actually a big difference. Sometimes you have showers, sometimes it's just dry. Like recently, the last shower was maybe like 3 days ago, but it was a short one. So the best advantage in Uganda is the climate and the weather. I really, really like it. I enjoy it, and we spend lots of time outside. Well, speaking about the country in general, it's a small East African country which borders with Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, South Sudan, and DRC. It is right on the equator, and you can even travel and see the equator line, and it's an interesting trip, absolutely, because we are right on the equator. So every single day, be it November or January or April, so the sun is rising at 6:30 a.m. and it goes down at 6:30 p.m. every single day, which was, I didn't know it before I actually came here. So the population of Uganda is close to 40 million. Half of the population is younger than 15. So, which means that probably in 30 years, it will double its population. I don't know, in 20, 30 years, it will be about 100 people. 100 100,000 people, so million population. Unfortunately, it is very poor country in terms of like financially. 40% lives below the poverty line, less than $1.50 per day. And I think with the growing population, it will not change in the nearest future. Well, but it's very rich in nature, and it's so beautiful as a country. And we really enjoy every single day with friends here. I hear some noises in the background. Do you hear too?
Somebody has muted. So can we say, if you are listening, please mute so we can hear you. Thank you.
I think, Lena, maybe if you could mute. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so the nature is beautiful. You have here the Great Lake Victoria. You have here Snowy Mountains, which is called Mountains of You have plenty of safari parks with elephants and buffaloes and giraffes and chimps, and you can travel to the southern point of Uganda where you have gorillas. There's the only place in the world where you can see habituated mountain gorillas. There are also they live in those forests which belongs to Rwanda, DRC, and Uganda. So you can go from Rwanda side to see gorillas, but it's like twice more expensive than if you do it from Uganda side. And it's the only place in the world where you still can see them in the wild nature. Yes, I see. Gorilla effect in East and Test. Yes, absolutely. So it was never a colony of British, so it was only a protectorate, which means that over the history in Uganda, they managed to maintain their independency, sort of. So they've never been colonized, and only under protectorate of Great Britain. So they are very nice to strangers and to white people, and there is no tension here at all. So Museveni, the current president, came into power in 1987. And he's still a president. He is a very old man, but he rules the country, and he doesn't want to give up his power. And we will have elections in February. In February, right, Lena? Yeah, I think it is February. And most probably he will win. So it is authoritarian, let's say, country. With occasional opposition riots, but I wouldn't say that it's two times. No. The only tense questions is LGBT society, because same-sex marriages are not allowed in Uganda. I think it's even considered a criminal act, and you will get 17 years in prison for having same-sex partner. So I think this is important if someone is considering moving here, and so they just need to know that this is not allowed here. I'm sorry. It has one of the highest fertility rate in the world, and every Ugandan woman usually has like 5 to 7 children.
Olga, can I ask you a question about the same sex? In some countries
Yes.
in Africa, although they don't recognize it, if you are a same-sex partner, you can actually still go with the bank, because we recognize same-sex partners. But in some countries, they say it's a security risk. It doesn't matter what the bank feels, it's what the host country feels. What is the situation in Uganda? If you were same-sex, would you feel safe there?
Well, I can't tell you, but I just have an example at the same school where my oldest son goes. In his class, there was a boy who had two moms. Recently, they immigrated to the U.S. because they said it was too hard for them to live here. They were one was Ugandan and one was Puerto Rican, I think. So they decided not to stay. So I would significantly consider thinking about the safety. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. And what about the housing then? So we got great climate. I'm curious. Singapore is it's on the equator too, but it's humid. Is it not humid in Uganda?
No, not humid. It's very nice. It actually, of course, it's humid during the rainy season, but during the dry season it is dry. But overall, within the year, I don't feel any difference. No, it's very, very pleasant and very nice. Like every morning, it is about +18, +20. It goes to +25 during midday. It may be +27 during the hottest days of the year, but it cools down in the evening to +23 again. So it's very pleasant. Like it's the best weather you can imagine. It's never too hot. It's never too cold. It's
okay. Thanks. That's great. So can you tell us what it's like to relocate? Now, let's start with housing.
Housing. Yeah, housing are amazing because you can have a house here. You can have a big house with a nice garden, with a nice sitting area outside. The pricing is, of course, quite high. It is. It depends on the neighborhood, but I think the country directed house is about $5,000 per month at one of the best neighborhoods, and ours is 3,500 per month. But it's a nice place. You can actually choose what you want because it has several neighborhoods. I'm sorry, ibises are disturbing us. So Kampala is situated on 7 hills, and you choose to live on a hill which is next to your school or next to the office. So there are several schools, so you basically choose school, and then you decide whether you will live near the school or you decide to live near the office, right? Because commute is approximately 30-40 minutes in the morning and in the afternoon if the traffic is okay. If the traffic is bad, it could be like 3 hours. So the distance is like 7 kilometers. Yeah. So there are several hills, and you choose where you live. And it's not like in South Africa where you have a big, let's say, how they call it, like a big community where you live there. Well, it's usually nice houses on top of the hill, but when you go down the hill, for example, to go to your school, you go down the hill and you meet, unfortunately, you see slums and the areas where really poor people live. So you basically meet with everyday life of local Ugandans on everyday basis. You are not separated from them. You are mixed. So whenever you travel from your home, let's say, to the next neighborhood where your supermarket is, you have to pass small area where you see how real, how local Ugandans live. Well, it was kind of disturbing, especially for children coming from Moscow, to see that level of poverty. But now we got used to it. You just cannot keep the same level of affection at the same time all the time, right? So we just kind of get used to it. So there are several nice neighborhoods, and the best one is Kalola, where all the embassies and all the UN missions and just very wealthy Ugandans live. The neighborhood is very nice, but the houses is the most expensive, like $5,000 a month. There is relatively cheaper neighborhoods like Mbuya. I live in Mbuya, Bugulobi, Muyenga Hill, and Naguru Hill, where you can find probably a nice house within the price range of $3,000-4,000 per month, even with a pool sometimes.
How about apartment blocks? Do they have choices, or are most people in houses?
Most people choose to live in houses because of the climate, because you just want to be outside. But there are options of apartment blocks. Sometimes you can find a nice condominium with a gated community with, let's say, 2 or 3 apartment blocks, 2-3-story building, maybe 3-4-story buildings, with a pool and with a gym. But it's not very common. So it's getting more and more popular. And even Bugulobi has building those apartment buildings more and more, and they even can be rented out furnished. And the price is approximately $3,000-3,050 for, let's say, 2 or 3 bedroom apartment.
So you've been involved in the schools, Olga. So maybe you can give us a perspective on what the schooling is like. So when it comes to housing, we know that the 7 hills, I can almost see them, and you choose it depending on what you like. Goes to school or goes to office, and traffic can be unpredictable. So what about schooling?
To my surprise, there are quite a big range of schools you can choose from. Maybe top 5 is International School of Uganda, which is a beautiful school. It has, I think, closest to American curriculum and IB as well. And the campus is huge, and it's beautiful with pines, and the facilities are great, and the teachers are all very well qualified. The only thing that it is too far from the office. So the daily commute would be hour or hour and a half, either for your children or for you. It depends where you choose. So despite we really like the school, I just realized that I don't want to spend that much time. Because my little one was only for me when we came here, and I just felt that it's just too much. So the location was the only reason why we decided not to go there. The second one is Kampala International School of Uganda. Is very good and very nice and beautiful and huge, and with all the facilities and internet and laptops and all of this. Located in a good place, and I would suggest this school for families with older children, because they have everything from kindergarten to high school and IB diploma as well. The pricing is quite high. It's like $28,000 per year, but we have it covered, so it shall be fine. And plus nearby there is that nice neighborhood which is Naguru Hill, where you can have great views of the city and nice, quite modern houses. There is also Ambrosoli School, which I love from the bottom of my heart. I can say that it's one of the best schools in the world because I've never had a school with such a great respect for children and great personal attention. So when my children came to this school not knowing English at all, they did everything possible and impossible to make them settle, to make them feel safe, feel happy and accepted. And it was amazing how much they cared about their adaptation to the new environment. Literally, I can't thank them enough for being that attentive to my children. That's why it's really hard to live, because it gives not only great attention to children, but also a sense of a community. Whenever you enter the school, you are just welcomed and people just get you, and I have all my friends from that school. My boys are absolutely happy in the school. Even in the time of COVID, they were very effective with online, with distance learning, and quite effective in general. The only disadvantage is that it's just kindergarten and primary school. So for the middle school, you need to choose something different. And they're trying to have a collaboration with Seven Hills International School, where I used to volunteer as a school counselor. So they will have kind of a connection. So the transition from Mamdasoli to Seven Hills will be smooth. So these are 4 schools which I absolutely recommend. There's also Rainbow School, Heritage School, Agahan School, but I haven't been there myself, so I cannot give you more information, but still worth checking if you are moving to Uganda. You are muted.
Ask you, Olga, can I ask you a question? Since you were talking about support, I was wondering how were you welcome? How did you work with the relocation agent? Did they show you options for school, for neighborhood? How did it work?
Well, it worked quite well because we managed to have a pre-assignment trip, and during the pre-assignment trip, we found a house. So it was easy because they worked. I remember, who was it? Was it Singapore? Or yes, I think it was a lady from Singapore telling that they usually stick to one agent with whom they probably connected somehow. So we had only one agent, and he showed us probably 10 houses and within 3 or 4 days, and we found the one which we really liked, and it was becoming available. So I think it was a lot of luck, not much of hard work from their side. She was quite formal, the relocation manager here in Uganda. So she did show us around. She did show us supermarkets and neighborhoods. But I always feel that, when you connect to people, or to expats, because she was a local lady. So it was a little bit of misunderstanding of what we want and what we are looking for into, life as an expert, and what she thinks might be good for us. So because she's local, there is a gap between, cultural gap, I guess. So it wasn't helpful, and it was helpful, and we found a house, and she did show us around, but I didn't get the feel from the city or how life is here in Kampala during my pre-assignment trip.
I'm curious because I see Maria, I see Lena, they are sometimes smiling. And when you were talking about maybe what would be a cultural gap, it would be interesting to hear from them, if I may, Yvonne. How do you understand that? Can you explain? Did it resonate something? I mean, how Ugandan people maybe will see those white rich expats? I mean, what is there in that? What is it? Curious. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm curious because I see your body language.
I think that what she's trying to say, I think, is that the local agent would not understand the kinds of things you're looking for. So they will take you to what they think is normal, the supermarkets that they find okay to go to. But then those are the places that sell what she would think is okay for her. Whereas you're looking for, all sorts of things. So in that case, you get more information from the local, from the experts that you then find who will tell you, okay, by the way, if you need this, this is where you get it and so on. But I can fully understand. So that's why it is very interesting for me to hear it from somebody else because I'm very local. I'd probably also take you, prior to the experience that I now have, I would probably also take you to the same places that do not make any sense to you. So I think that's what she tried to mean.
Yeah, but
I think, Lena, you are right.
I was fearing because when you are a relocation agent paid by the World Bank to support expats, you should, and it's the minimum, you should be listening to your clients and precisely being aware of maybe different needs. You see what I mean? So
yeah, probably she was new on the job and didn't have a lot of experience, because if you've handled several families, you would by now know, the kinds of things they're looking for. So maybe there could be something, either new on the job or maybe was not briefed as well, but most likely new on the job, not knowing her client well.
Yeah, it's probably a question of training, not training to handle expats. But Lena, it'd be nice to have your perspective. We've heard from Olga about what is the real inside tip about living in Kampala from Uganda. And any other person who's a Ugandan online.
In what particular area? Just anything that comes to mind?
Anything that comes to mind in response to what Olga has said about the housing and the schooling. And I'm also curious about that. What do you do? It's Olga was saying, you live on the hill and you go down and you see all that poverty and the poor. So how do you reconcile? Because I'm sure the well-off Ugandans also have that same dilemma. And what can you do to help, basically?
I don't know if there's anything that you can do to help. So, for example, I have a similar experience that through my children. My children were not born in Uganda, and so, but then we go every summer, and they see the stark difference. So many things are new to them, and I can see, they're like, oh, everybody is so poor and so on, because like she said, there's no clear demarcation between those who have and those who don't have. You get out of your gate, and then you meet those who really, really don't have. So I don't know if there's a way you can help, aside from, I really don't know how you can help, because the problem is a big one. Maybe just a small contribution as you, for probably the child of your workers at home. I don't know if you have workers at home or the Askari's kids, something like that. But otherwise, it is a poor country. And so you're going to encounter that a lot. But on the other hand, Ugandans are very happy people. So you don't get that, there's no sadness. Even in the poverty, there is zero sadness. Everybody is so happy. So maybe it's the weather, I don't know. She was very right. before I left Uganda, I did not know what humidity is. Well, I would read about it in the books, but I didn't know what humidity is, or snow, or summer. Everything is the same all year round. You can actually live in Uganda without ever having to own a sweater or having to feel, oh, I'm so hot, I'm so hot. It's the same everywhere. So because of the joy in Ugandans, it's a joy to be there, in spite of,
Absolutely.
In spite of the poverty. I'm told that Ugandans may be some of the happiest people in the world. So
that's fantastic. We all should go there, especially now.
I know.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe Maria has something else to add. I don't know.
You know, it's funny because when I first went to Brazil when I was young, this is exactly what I felt. Thank you. That people, there were a lot of poverty, but everybody's so happy. So partying. My Brazilian husband is looking at me now, and I'm not sure if he agrees with that, but that was my feeling. Okay. Joy.
And also, there is fine. Of course, you stand out as a white person, but in a good way. It's not. It is very safe. Fine, they'll throw a comment here and there, call you Muzungu, but that's it. It's not going to go beyond that. It's just a friendly chuckle here and there. So it is pretty safe also.
Yes, I felt very safe here. I can even walk sometimes around without, like, I would probably not go to the market myself, but I can just walk to school with children and or jog around. That's very safe. So now, because of curfew and the COVID, we don't go outside after 7. The curfew is at 7. But it's so quiet during the night now. No borders, no people on the street, no dancing in the bar. I absolutely agree with Lena. They're very happy here. They dance every single day, right? Ugandans party every night.
Yeah, do you want to add anything?
Yes.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, I think.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. So I agree with Olga and Lena about everything, the climate, the people, they're very friendly and all that. It's just that being an expatriate, especially when you stand out as they call it Muzungu, people look at you and expect you to have money, and so they'll want to rip you off in some instances. So you would need to exercise caution as you deal with so many different people, say, in the market and different places. I don't know if Olga has experienced that, but everyone thinks they can get something off of you, just cheat you in a way. Even the people come to do domestic work and all that sometimes. And then because I was a local, we've been here for close to 1.5 years. So I've been in Uganda most of my life and raised my children there. I still sense some insecurity because we were not at the average. So we had some sort of insecurity because people still think you have money. So there's break-ins, of course, once in a while. Then as you're driving from home, yes, you will encounter different neighborhoods. So when those people keep seeing a certain way that you live, then there will be an expectation of you having money. And now that the country is poor, and it's getting worse now with COVID and people not having jobs, so that's the only downside. And maybe the traffic. I don't know how all that does it, but the traffic and the driving is quite interesting in Kampala. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't manage to drive in Kampala. It was just too hard for me because of so many motorcyclists. It's just horrible. I used to drive in Moscow, but I absolutely cannot drive in Uganda. And of course, we tighten up the security now because of the COVID. Like we installed additional lights in the compound, and we have 2 night guards now. Just because we understand that, well, this is hard time for everyone. And of course, we try to support the community as much as we can. Yes, I give loans to our guards. Yes, sometimes I help my driver or things like this. But I don't see it in a way that they want to get something from me. I see it in a way that if I can help by giving a loan, I would be very willing to do so. He will pay me back, and he did actually. But yeah, I agree that at the beginning it was difficult for me to get this idea and to stay strong, not helping everyone. Because immediately you just want to help people. Well, I'm that type of person. That's why I'm a school counselor. That's why I'm a local representative in Uganda. I want to help people. I'm good at it. And I had to learn how to stop. Because you can't do it for everyone.
Since Olga, you said you're good at it. Let's. I've got 2 questions here. One is my question, and one is from the chat. My question, of course, you can imagine, what are the employment opportunities for spouses? How easy is it to get work? And the second one from the chat box is, what is there for kids to do once you relocate to Uganda in terms of extracurricular activities? We know about the schools, but apart from the schools. So 2 questions. And Lena and Maria, please chime in, especially about employment. So Olga, you go first.
Yes. Well, it's officially you can work in Uganda, but it is very hard to get the work permit. It's not like in the US where you have a general work permit. It's like in other countries where you have to have an employer who will petition on your behalf to give you work permit. And like I remember Gopa, she left last year, and her husband worked at the World Bank as well. She used to work at our international school as a teacher. So the school made work permit for her, and but basically you have to decline your dependent status and diplomatic. Well, it's not diplomatic status, but all benefits of being a dependent, and you are on your own work permit in the country. So basically you are on different legal statuses, which can be different. And even if you want to work as a volunteer, you have to have a work permit. Can you believe it? And the work permit costs quite a lot. For example, a teacher's work permit costs about $2,000 per year. So it's good if the school is paying for this. But otherwise, it is very expensive to have it on your own. So in reality, the opportunities are very limited. Lena, Maria?
So I know someone that tried an expatriate couple, but then they were not with the World Bank, and they went through the whole process for the spouse to get a work permit. Paid quite a lot of money, to the tune of maybe about $3,000, but they still didn't get it. So I don't know the process around that. It's tricky. They didn't get it even for spending that much. Yeah.
So Olga, what do most of the World Bank spouses in Uganda? What are they working, or are they studying, or what are the spouses doing?
From those that I know close enough, 3 are not working at all. One is South African, so I think in her case it's different. She can work. She works as she's an actor, so probably it's different for her. And two more. I think she's doing consultancy for Tanzania, so she's not receiving an income in Uganda. So that's how you can avoid all the hassle about the work permit if you are doing consultancy and not receiving an income in Uganda. But yeah.
Thank you. That's
not really. Okay. And regarding kids, of course, there is curriculum at schools, and you can have, like my son used to go and play football, basketball outside of school. There are different places, sometimes based in school, sometimes based outside the school in different other facilities. You can do pottery, you can do horse riding, you can do ballet dancing, well, to the level of professionalism. Well, with a certain level of professionalism. The good thing which we really like is that it is quite affordable for us as expats to have a private, let's say, drum teacher. That's what my son is doing now. So the private teacher comes to our house. Well, now they do it online, and just teach my son how to drum. Or you can do the same with piano or art lessons, things like this. The activities for families are quite limited. So if you want if you want some entertainment, you entertain yourself. You know, like you throw parties, you do barbecue, you visit your friends. Because, especially, I compare with Moscow. I came from Moscow, where you can go to Bolshoi Theater any time of the day, of the week, right? Or you can go to the movie, or there are festivals and the galleries and events all year round. So comparing to it, Uganda is not very promising. But we travel. We love nature. And whenever we have long weekends, we would just go to the nearest city, let's say to the source of the Nile in Jinja. Or we would go to the Lake Mburo for a small safari trip. Or people who love camping, they do camping all year round because the weather is brilliant and you can do it all year round. We've been to almost all national parks, safari parks here in Uganda. We've been to the mountains, we've seen gorillas, we've seen craters lakes. We go fishing, you can go sailing. So we just go out.
Very different. I have two questions in the chat box here. One is, how are the health facilities? And the other is also health related. How is COVID-19 situation on the ground?
Well, with the health facilities, I strongly recommend come here if you are quite healthy. Because with similar things like common cold or even malaria, they know how to treat it here. But for something more serious, like my son broke his arm while we were here, and it required a manipulation, luckily not surgery, but a manipulation. And it was one of the worst experiences in over these 3 years, that we're here. Because unfortunately, for everyday basis, like common cold and things like this, there are several nice clinics and doctors. But for something important, I would suggest to go either to Nairobi or to South Africa or Dubai or back to your home country. Am I right, ladies? Yeah. But on the other hand, the situation with COVID is quite fine, knock on wood. we only have a little bit more than 1,000 cases so far, comparing to bordering Kenya. They have like 5,000 cases because borders are closed, so we are not allowed to leave. Well, we can leave the country theoretically. So no one is coming in. Not many people are coming out. Mostly it's repatriation flights from their embassies. And maybe because of the border closure, we have only about 1,000 cases. But because of the lack of medical facilities, it is, I can't even think how bad it could be if the situation will get worse.
So, Lena, do you want to add anything? Lena or Maria?
I was gonna ask Olga if she did you consider going back home because of the COVID situation?
No, I did not consider going back home because it is plus 6,000 cases every day in Russia, and comparing to 1,000 cases in general in Uganda, I think we're safer here. For now. I don't know what will happen in the future, but for now, we're safer here.
Well, then I'm going to ask you this question. I think what would be very interesting is to hear from Lena and Maria first, because I think we know Olga's answer, because it's very clear what she thought. What do you think is the best thing about living in Uganda?
The climate, the food, and the people. I would say that, yeah, the food, the climate, the people, and the sense of community that you'll get. Yeah. Maybe the things to see around and do around, like Olga mentioned, all the different places to go to and see different amazing bits of nature and the gorillas and yeah.
I think Lena disappeared.
Go ahead, Olga, while Lena gets online.
Absolutely agree with Maria. I really like nature. So for me, it's a blessed country because the nature here is so rich, and I've never had better mangoes or better pineapples than here in Uganda, right? Yeah, the food is like all the vegetables and fruits are in large quantities here. You can find almost everything except berries, but you can survive without your blueberries because there are plenty of passion fruit or watermelon all year round. The food is amazing, the climate is amazing, the nature is magnificent. We have great blue taracas coming to our garden almost every week, and these are amazing birds which you will never see in I don't know, anywhere in the world, I believe. We used to have velvet monkeys coming over and eating old corn and tomatoes in my garden. So yes, if you really like nature, that's the place for you to go.
Yes, Lena, what would you say? What was fun? What's the best thing about living in Uganda? Or should I say, what do you miss about Uganda because you're not there?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So the number one thing that I miss is the food. The variety of food I have failed to find anywhere from all the places I've been. The freshness of it also. There is hardly, well, maybe we eat different things, but there's hardly anything frozen. It's all fresh. I miss the weather so much. I miss the people, the sense of community. I find that in other places people are not as forthcoming. Sorry, people are not as forthcoming. There is some sort of barrier, you know. Even if with a stranger, I don't think that there is that in Uganda. It may seem that way at the beginning, but actually it's not really a barrier. And yeah, I just miss home.
You both made me very curious. What is Ugandan food? I know it's quite a hard question to describe food if you can't taste it. But you've made me very curious as to what is Ugandan food.
Matoke.
Yeah, yeah. So because there are several tribes, and so several regions, and so each region has like a major food. So, for example, where I come from, we eat a lot of millet and batoke, which is like bananas that you steam to make some sort of how do I say? Well, you have that as your food. For example, like you would have rice, you'd be having the bananas, the matoke. So then there's the millet bread, and then there's the cassava bread, and then there's sweet potato, and then there's all sorts of nuts, the beans, and the vegetables. So every region has like a main food that they eat. The food being like what you'd have as your carbohydrates. Then whatever else you're having it with. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, we have a request for a fun recipe. So I don't know whether one of you could share the fun recipe and we can post it somewhere online on our website.
I think
fun recipe or country pages.
Oh, okay.
You
Where would you get the ingredients, for example?
Where would you have matoke?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
If you're not in Uganda. Oh, we'll miss this too. Yeah, I love matoke.
Matoke, a special kind of banana?
Yes, it's green.
It tastes like, but it tastes like mashed potatoes to me. A little bit like mashed potatoes.
It does get ripe with time also, but we eat it before it gets ripe. So the one other thing that I wanted to reiterate what she said was about the traffic. For anybody considering moving to Uganda, think very carefully about the location of your house vis-a-vis the location of the school. The traffic in Uganda is not like anything you've seen before, I think. Having to commute to and from school, and like she said, one of you has to do the commute, either the parent or the child. But I think you can reach a middle ground. And that is the main disadvantage of the International School of Uganda, like she mentioned. It is very far away from most things, and especially from the office. So if you do go to International School of Uganda and choose to live near the school, which is fine, they are great houses, it's a great neighborhood, the air is so good. I think the AQI is probably 0 every day. I say that because in India we struggle with air quality every day. But the staff member would have a long commute to work every day, especially in the morning, because then everybody's going into town. So so you'd rather, I think, if you don't want to spend that much time in traffic, settle somewhere else. I don't know, Olga, which neighborhood do you live?
We are next to Bugulobi.
Okay.
Bugulobi.
Okay, yeah. So that is very close. So yeah.
That is very close. It's about 15-20 minutes drive to school for our boys. And then my husband takes another, let's say, 20 minutes from the school to work.
Mm.
I'm just curious with this traffic for comparison, because I haven't been to Uganda, but I have been to Delhi and I have been to Nairobi. So if we use those two, and I've sat in traffic in Nairobi, so I know exactly what that means, and Delhi as well. So how does it compare on a scale? I mean, if you
I find
Nairobi,
Delhi is way better. It's not to the scale. I think Uganda and Nairobi compete for first place, right? I think they compete for first place. So I
think Manila, where we used to live, is a close second, I would say. Okay.
Maybe, yeah. I haven't been to a bad one in Nairobi. It's been a while now, But I almost want to believe Uganda probably is number one. Is that, especially if it rains, it's stuck in one place.
Well, if it rains, we just do not go anywhere because we know that we'll be stuck in traffic.
Yeah. So it's very important that you live close to the school and close to the office.
Which is possible. You can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I say something?
Thank you. We have we're coming up close to the hour. Yes, Olga, you want to say something?
No,
that's the last word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw a nice
I just wanted to say that regarding the people and all that, maybe something to keep in mind is people like to say that when you want to ask for something, you first greet somebody, then you ask them something. People love to be greeted and given some form of respect. So when we came to the US, you want to ask someone for directions and you greet them, they look at you as though you're wasting their time or something, It's out of the ordinary. So back home in Uganda, you first start by greeting someone, then you ask for something. Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely. You come, let's say, you come to find out, I don't know, the invoice for the furniture. First you say hello, then you have to ask how are you doing, then you ask how you've been, so it's the same, yeah. Or maybe you can even ask how is your family, and only after that you say, okay, I like this one, this chair, how much will it cost? Can you make it? And then it's yeah. It's a tradition. Even I start every message on my WhatsApp with hello, how are you? It's just a polite way to start the conversation.
And when you talk about the chair, Olga, do you bargain or not? Or do you just ask how much is the chair?
You bargain all the time because you always receive Muzungu price. Muzungu means white people price. You have to bargain. I just know it. I don't like it. Sometimes I just agree with the first given price because I'm not in the mood to bargain. But if I'm in a good mood, yes, I will do it.
But also the other thing to consider is if you have workers, eventually you get to trust them, maybe your driver, I don't know, you probably have a driver or whoever, so you get to send them to do some of those things, especially if it's something that's obvious. It's better if they do the buying for you because you will never be able to get the price they can get.
Yes. And the quality. Yeah, I used to send our house help to the nearest market to buy fruits and vegetables for me. And her choice is always better than mine. Like all pineapples or all watermelons that she used to bring are the best quality. Not like mine. This is another thing. Can I add? This is another thing. What I really like about Uganda is the house help. I have a house help. I have a nanny. I have a gardener. I have a driver, and I have a guard. I believe that I'm just helping the community because I'm able to have them. and they are happy, and I am happy.
And it's
You
probably
know,
reasonable price
somebody-
too. Reasonable fee at that, right?
Yeah, at a very reasonable fee. Yeah, my nanny in Moscow costed more than all these 5 people altogether.
Oh wow.
So if any of you have young children that you have to homeschool, Uganda is the destination, for sure. Well, I come from Asia, so I've always had household help. So household help is like, yeah, we need it. Okay, I'm going to wrap up and ask our president, Padmini, to say the last few words, and thank you again, Olga, Lena, and Maria. It's so rich to have a panel of people, providing different perspectives. It really is good. So, Padmini, over to you.
Thanks, Yvonne. I would love to thank Olga and Lena and Maria as well for all the inputs you've given us about life in Uganda. I would just like to add that I'm not a good person at bargaining myself, but it's almost seen as a sport, And so sometimes when you accept first price set by the seller, they are also surprised that, so you're expected to bargain. But everything sounds so idyllic. Even Olga, where you're seated, the breeze is blowing gently. I can see that the sun is shining. It's so beautiful. And I can hear the nostalgia from Lena and Maria. We are all missing home at this point. I can see that. I can feel that. But this was a beautiful, beautiful canvas of what life in Uganda is like. And I think a very important point that Yvonne made, although we laugh about it, it is true that when you have small children, it is good to have, to be able to afford house help and have that extra helping hand, because otherwise it can get really, really quite draining, especially now with this homeschooling that we are all, not me, my children are grown up, but the others are going to have to face.
Right, Charlotte.
On that note, I would like to thank Yvonne for conducting this session in a beautiful way as usual. The audience for joining us today. Nice to see you, Maureen, and all the presenters. Thank you very much, and we hope that you'll join us again.
Thank you.
Next week, we're off to New Delhi. That is our next destination, New Delhi. And I think, Lena, you will be talking about New Delhi, right? So,
yeah.
Lena will be back next week.
Looking forward to it very much.
Yes.
Wonderful. Will you be wearing pearls again, Yvonne, for us?
You're on mute.
Oh, I said I could. I could, Maureen. If you come, I will.
You just look so well appointed. Our ambassador. Our ambassador. Lovely to see you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Ciao.
Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.